So hello everyone, welcome to the fifth tutorial session of the program Problem Solving Through Programming in C. So this is the SWAYAM course which has been floated by Professor Anupam Basu from Department of CSE, IIT Kharagpur, and I am Siddhant, one of the two TAs who are in charge of taking these tutorial courses, where we will discuss questions and a bit of concepts which will help you out with the assignments and the final exam. So in this session we'll be covering the material from week 5. So in week 5 we looked at mainly uh, looping statements and flow control statements such as break and continue. So we'll be seeing a few questions with respect to those topics. Okay, so first we'll look at a few questions with the looping statements. So let's see the first question. So we know what are the three kinds of looping statements. We saw them in the previous session. So we have for, we have while, and we have do while. So these are the three looping statements that we have looked at in C, and we'll be solving questions involving them. So our first question is what will be the output of the program? So we have a integer variable p, and p goes from 0 up till p less than 3 with an increment of 1 per iteration. And inside the for loop, what we have done is we have defined p again. We have done int p equals 4 and we have printed p. So what will happen, like what will be the output of the program when we run this program? What should be the output? You can unmute and answer, or you can write it in the chat as well.
It will print 3 times.
It will print one time. The 4 will be printed one time.
Okay. So this question also addresses a concern called scope of the variable. Okay, what is the scope of the variable? Now p is a variable. Now this p that is in the iterator, that is also the iterator. So this, we know that it is initialized to 0 and it will go up till p equals 2 in increments of 1. Okay, now inside the for loop, what we have done is we have defined p again, and we have initialized it to a value of 4, and we are printing the value of p. So inside the for loop, this p definition is valid. That means so this p, it has a scope of, this is the scope of this p variable, this two lines. This is where the scope of this particular p variable happens. That means happens to be, that is just within the loop for this particular iteration. For each particular iteration, the p value will be taken up as 4, and that is what will be printed here. And after we move out of this iteration and we go and we check for the next loop, we go and check the condition again, the p will revert back to whatever iterator value it had. Okay, so basically when we are talking about the scope of variable, we also talk about like global and local variables, right? So global variables are defined outside the function and local variables inside the function. So as long as there are local variables, it will always dominate over global variables if the variable name is the same. So here also the same kind of logic applies, that here inside we have redefined this p and reinitialized it to a value of 4. That means this is going to have dominance here. So this whatever we do with p inside the loop after redefining this p as 4, the p value will be 4. But once the for block, whatever block of statements we have here, it gets over and we go back and we check the condition, that is p, we increment it and we check the condition, So both the increment and the condition check both will happen with the iterator value of p, because this p is no more defined when you come back to the iterator. This definition of this p equals 4 is not valid anymore. Once you finish this particular iteration and you come back and you increment the values and check against 3, so that definition of p is not valid anymore. That is only valid for this few statements that are written inside the loop. So here when we have the first loop, so what happens in the first loop, p is having the value of 0, it is less than 3, so the loop will run. Now you are redefining p as 4 and printing 4, so we have 1 4 here. After that the p value reverts back to 0. Now it increases by 1 and p becomes 1, and we start the second loop because we saw that 1 is less than 3, so the second loop is permitted to run. Now p value becomes 4 again, we print another 4, and then this particular loop ends. So p value again it becomes 1, and then the increment occurs, it becomes 2. Okay, now this becomes 2, you check it against p value becomes 2, and then you go to the third loop, you check 2 against 3, it is still true, the condition is still true. So you go and you redefine p as 4, that means p's value become 4, it prints 4 again. Now after this statement, this print statement is over, that is this loop is done, it goes back to the previous iterator value of p, which is p will again become 2, then it will increment by 1, it will become 3. Now it will check against p less than 3, the condition is false now, so it will exit the loop. So you have 4 being printed 3 times. So option B will be the correct answer here. So in the loop, if you write p plus plus and plus plus p, both are the same thing. It does the same operation. Yes.
Yeah, hi, this is Saurabh. I just ran the program in the VS Code also, but it is showing that only one time 4 is printed.
Only one time?
4 is only printed one time, because once like inside the loop p is being assigned 4,
Mm-hmm.
it does not go up to the loop and like p does not become 0 again. That part is only once executed, it just checks the condition and updates. That part is only occurring. That p equals to 0 initialization is not happening again and again every time. Because if
No,
every
no,
time
p equals 0. I'm not saying that p equals 0 will be initialized. I'm saying it will return back to the iterator value. Like to
that is not happening. Like once p is assigned 4, it goes up and like p is updated p plus plus, that p becomes 5 and 5 is not less than 3, so it does not like, run it again. So it's like that.
Okay. Let me think about it. So basically, if I put a print statement inside this with the p plus plus, I put a comma and a print statement. So what does it give me? Like you can try that out because you have already written the code in VS Code. So after p plus plus, just write comma printf percentage d p. So and check what does it give you. Can you do that?
Sir, I think we don't need to worry about scope variables inside for. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think it would be in def or type def, sir, like that.
Yeah, def or type def is like you will be defining macros there. So that is not, I'm not talking about that part right now. It's just with normal variables. Okay, let me confirm this. Can you do that print statement and check? Meanwhile, I'll also look into it.
Like I checked, it's printing 4. Beside this p plus plus, I checked.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I see. Hmm. So you got the point, right? What?
Yeah, yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Okay, so I hope this is the confusion is clear now. Why it is going to print for three times, the number four three times, and not why not once. So basically, if you remove this int part, you're just setting the p value to 4. The same variable p, you are just setting it to 4, and then it will print 4 once, and then when it goes back and it increments it to 5, it will check the condition 5 less than 3, it is false, so it will just exit there. So if you don't put this int, then you're not redefining the variable p, and in that case there is no question of scope of variable and whatever here. All right. So if that is clear, then we'll just move ahead to the next question. So the next question again asks us what the output will be. So here we have a integer variable n, and n has been defined as like initialized as 10 in the for loop, and the condition is n less than 10. The decrement is n minus minus, and we are printing just the value of n inside the for loop. So what will be the output of this?
Option C, no output.
Yeah. Why is that?
First, we are initializing like n equals to 10, and it will check the condition is n less than 10. It is not less than 10, so it will not run the loop, and it will just.
Right. So, like I said in the previous session, yeah, you are correct, by the way. Like I said in the previous session, in for loop, first the condition in for and while loop both, the condition checking occurs initially at the start, before the start of the loop. Um, so you set the value of n to 10, and then you check if n is less than 10. So of course that will be false. Now if that is false, then the loop will exit there itself. It will not run even for a single iteration. So here the answer is no output. Okay, good. So next we have question. Here we have two iterators, as you can see. We have k and j, and we are going to print them inside the loop. Just print them, and in the for loop we are using both of them as the iterators. So here, if you remember the comma operator, okay, just remember what the comma operator does, and you should be able to answer this.
Sir, could you please explain what the comma operator done?
Okay, so if you have, say, some operation 1 comma operation 2, so what comma operator will do is that it will do operation 1, whatever value it gets, it rejects the value and it goes to operation 2, and it will do operation 2, and whatever value it gets, it takes that to be the final value. So basically, if you are saying that my integer int a is something like this, okay, operation 1 comma operation 2, so whatever value comes out of operation 2 will be saved in a, because operation 1 will be performed, but the value will be rejected, and then it will go ahead, it will do operation 2, and whatever value it gets from that, it will go and save in a. So if I had multiple comma operators having multiple operations here, so only all the operations would be performed, but only the last one would come into the value of a. So that is what the comma operators does technically. Yeah.
I think the option will be C.
Okay. So let's see what the option will be. So in the first loop you have k equals 1 and j equals 3 that has been initialized, and first we will check the conditions. So k is less than equal to 3, that is fine. J is greater than equal to 1, that is also fine. Then what we do is we print. So the iteration starts, it will print k and j. So you have 1 comma 3 being printed. Now at the end what it will do is it will increase the value of k by 1, decrease the value of j by 1. So k will become 2, j will become 2. Okay, now before the second loop starts, it will check again the conditions. K is less than equal to 3, that is true. J is greater than equal to 1, that is also true. So the second iteration will also start, and it will print again the values of k and j, which is 2 comma 2. Now after that what happens is k becomes 3 incremented by 1, j becomes 1. Okay, now the third loop, what happens in the third loop? So you again check the conditions. K less than equal to 3, which is true. J greater than equal to 1, which is also true. So the third iteration also proceeds. So it will print 3 comma 1. Now k will become 4 and j will become 0. Right, now what happens to the fourth loop? Before the fourth loop it checks the condition. The condition is not full, so this k condition is not fulfilled because 4 not equal to 3 will be false, but it does not matter that it's false because the comma operation only cares about, so this entire statement only cares about this j part, not the k part. I mean the k part will of course be evaluated, but whatever we get from that evaluation, that will not be considered anywhere. So this j part is important. If it was j greater than equal to 0, this would still have run for another iteration. Okay, but it is j greater than equal to 1, so in that case you are checking basically this, which is also false. Now this condition is false, then the loop will exit. So you have option C here as the answer. But remember, like I said, if this condition was j greater than equal to 0, the loop would have run for another iteration. Okay, because this is the condition which is important. Like you see, right, the operation 2, the last operation is the one that will actually matter when there are operations separated by comma. The last operation is the important one. Okay, the other operations will be done, but we don't care about those values. Right. So is this clear? Alright, then we can go and look at the next question. So here we have two variables, I and j. We have initialized I to 1, and the j goes in a for loop from 0 less than equals 10, that is the condition, and we increment it with I after each iteration. Inside the iteration we increment I with j. So what will be the value of I after this program finishes execution? So for this kind of,
I think.
yeah, yes,
I think option D.
yes, I'll have to also calculate. I have not calculated this. So for this kind of question you have to solve it until you have to solve it entirely loop wise. So in the first before the first loop I is 1 already, and j is 0, and j less than equal to 10, that is satisfied. So I will become I plus j, which is 1 plus 0, which is still 1, and at the end of the loop j becomes 0 plus I, which is 1. J becomes 1. Right, what happens in the second loop? In the second loop the condition is still satisfied because 1 is less than equal to 10. Now I was 1, it becomes 1 plus j, which is 1, and that is 2, right? And at the end of the iteration j is incremented by I, that means it is incremented by 2, j becomes 3. In the third loop I becomes I plus j, that is 2 plus 3, which is 5. J becomes 3 plus 5, which is 8, still satisfying the condition, so there will be a fourth loop. So I becomes 5 plus 8, which is 13, and j becomes 8 plus 13, which is 21, right? Now after this increment of j, when it goes for the fifth loop, it checks the condition. 21 is less than equal to 10. It is not satisfied anymore. This is false. So the loop will exit from there. Okay, and it will exit. So the value of I will be 13 when the loop exits. So that is what the question has asked. The execution of the code finishes. The I value is 13. It's fairly straightforward because you just need to keep just calculating and running the loop iteration by iteration to get the value. Alright, so a couple more questions. So we have short int, which is also a type of int, like you use it for saving integers, but with much smaller capacity than the normal int. Okay, so you are setting two variables k and j. We are initializing them to 1, and we have a while condition with k, and we are using a logical OR operation here with some conditional for k and conditional for j, and inside the while loop we are doing some kind of operations, and after the while loop we are printing the value of k and j. This is also quite straightforward. Try to answer this.
I think it's option B.
Okay. Option B or D? What did you say?
Option D.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think so too. Let's see. So k is equal to, so in the first loop both the conditions are satisfied. So k is less than equal to 4, which is true. So in logical OR, if you remember, if one of them is true, still it will give you a true. Okay, this will still be true. And if only both of them are false, it will be false. Otherwise, in all other cases, it will be true. Okay, this is the logical OR operation. Okay. Now this condition turned out to be true, so the first iteration will happen. K will become 3, j plus equals 1, that means it will increment by 1, so it will become 2. And the second loop, what happens, k less than equal to 4, this is satisfied, so no need to check the second conditional. So k will become 3 plus 2, which is 5, and j will become 2 plus 1, which is 3. So that is what happens. Then in the third loop what happens, again k is less than equal to 4 is false, but j is less than equal to 3 is true. So one of them being true, the entire conditional is true, so the loop will still continue. So you have k again incremented by 2, k will become 5 plus 2, which is 7, and j will become 3 plus 1, which is 4. Now both the conditionals are not satisfied. K less than equals 4 is also false, and j less than equals 3 is also false. So now both of them being false, this conditional becomes false, so the loop will exit after the third loop. And when you print the values of k and j, you will have 7, 4. Okay, quite straightforward, just this logical OR operation that you need to take care of here. So we'll look at the next question then. So we are initializing I to 0, and in the for loop we are just giving a conditional which is I less than equals 9. the increment we are doing at the beginning of the loop. So if we had given it I plus plus in the for loop statement, it would have done the increment at the end of the loop. But here we want the increment to happen at the beginning of the loop, so we didn't write I plus plus there in the for statement. Rather, we do the increment ourselves in the beginning uh, of the block. Okay.
I think option C is the answer.
Okay. Yeah. I have to also
Option D.
calculate and check. So yeah, so I can see that the first one that will be printed is 1, because you are incrementing the value. The I started with 0 in the when the first iteration happened, it was incremented to 1. By the time it reached printf, it was incremented to 1 already. So 1 will be the first like the first printout, the first output. And in subsequent loops you will have 2, 3, 4, but what will happen towards the end? So when you are looking at the eighth iteration, so I value becomes 9 after executing this. 9 gets
Sir?
print. Yes. Yes.
Sir, I plus plus is the postfix. I plus plus is the postfix incrementation, right? Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, before that we are initialize I equal to 0, so it will print from 0.
No, it will not print from 0, because I plus plus is the only thing that is there in this line. If Yeah, because you are met with a semicolon right here, so the statement ends here. If there was something else which was written after this, like before the semicolon, then it would have done that operation. Uh, like had you been printing printf I plus plus, okay, like instead of writing printf like this, you directly wrote one statement, printf %d I plus plus. In that case you would have 0, because it was postfix. It would have printed 0 first, and then it would have incremented the value of I. But here I plus plus is written on a separate statement, so once this statement gets over, that means I plus plus, it has been incremented, no matter what postfix, prefix, whatever. Once the statement is over, it's terminated by a semicolon. That means the increment has already happened at the end. Okay, by the time you go to the next statement, the incremented is done. So that is why you start from 1 here, like the printing will start from 1. Yeah. Okay, so
Okay, thank you, sir.
yeah, sure. So in the eighth loop, or the eighth iteration, what happens? You increment. So I value was 8. You increment it to 9. Here, I becomes 9. 9 gets printed. So definitely this will be printed. And here there would be a 9, right? So the 9 gets printed. Now you go back. You check the conditional. Conditional is still satisfied. So I is less than equal to 9. So this is true. So loop will run for another iteration. Now the I value becomes 10. You print I, so 10 will be printed, and then when it goes back and it checks the conditional, 10 less than equal to 9, it's not satisfied anymore, it's false. So you have the answer as option D, which is printing from 1 up till 10. Clear so far? All right.
But since
Yeah.
its answer should be C.
Why do you think so?
Because it will increase after printing this
No, it will not increase the value after printing. It is increasing before printing. So basically, if I write the first loop, so your I is 0, it checks the condition. Condition is true. So I first becomes 1, and then it prints 1. Okay. Now this is you're agreeing with this? Now, yeah, when I look at the eighth loop, that is I value was 8, and it got incremented to 9. Okay, and 9 got printed. So 9 got printed here. I's value incremented to 9. 9 got printed. Okay, now you go back for the ninth loop, before the ninth loop happens, you check this conditional 9 less than equal to 9. It is true, right? Now it will go for the ninth loop now. So in the ninth loop, what will happen? Again I plus plus. Now I plus plus means this I is already 9. It will become 10. Now if it becomes 10, 10 is what will be printed here, right? Now 10 gets printed. Then it goes back and it checks for a 10th loop. It checks this conditional 10 less than equal to 9, which is false. Now if it is false, then like it will exit the loop there itself.
Yes.
Yeah. So here the point is that the increment is happening before the printing. That is important here. So that is why even though your conditional says that you are giving a I less than equals 9, you are getting a 10 also in the output, because the increment is happening before this printing statement. Okay. So now those were the questions about the looping statements. Now we will.
Sir?
Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
I think before question follows initialization condition and then statement and then incrementation, right?
Yes. So
Got my point, sir. It will follow initialization condition, then printing statement, and then it follows incrementation, right?
no, the incrementation, then the printing statement. So you have I equals 0. When it starts the loop, it will check. So first it is initialing I equal to 0. Then it will check I less than equals 9. Then this is true, so it will go and do I plus plus. Then it will printf. Okay. Then it will check I less than 9. Then again I plus plus. Then printf.
Okay.
Then I less than equals 9. I plus plus. Like this is how it goes in this particular case. If you had written it inside the for statement, then this I plus plus would happen after the printf. So then you would have different, it would go from 0 to 9. The answer would be from 0 to 9 in that case. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so flow control statements, we have a break statement and we have a continue statement. So what break statement does is it takes you out of the loop. Once it is encountered, it takes you out of that particular loop. And what continue statement does is it will skip that particular iteration, like the rest of the lines which are after continue, rest of the inside the for or while block or wherever you are using continue. So whatever lines are there after the continue, it will skip them and go to the next iteration. So that is what continue does. So these are like the name states, these are flow control statements. So it helps us like control the programming flow. Say you want to skip a particular, so you are writing say for 0 to 10 and you want to skip a certain digit, so you can do a continue there, so that particular digit, the entire loop, the entire iteration will be skipped in that particular one. Okay, so let's see now. Let's solve a few questions about that. So we have I and j, two variables initialized to 0. Now I goes from 0 up till I less than 4 with an increment of 1 after each iteration, and inside that you have j, which is, so this is a nested for loop. J going from 0 for every I, the j will go from 0 up till j less than 5 with increment of 1. Now you check if I greater than 0, you will continue, and then you are printing hello. So how many times will hello be printed when you execute this code?
20 times.
Option C, 5 times.
Okay. Yeah, let me also solve it. Okay, someone said no printing also. Okay.
I think 5 times, sir.
Yeah, I think so. It should be 5 times. let's see. So when I equals 0, that is the first, like the outer loop, I equals 0. For that you go for j equals 0, j equals 1, 2, 3, 4, right? This will be the 5 different iterations which will happen inside the I equals 0, and for each of them you will have hello being printed, right? So 5 times it will be printed here, okay? Because I greater than, only I greater than 0, it will continue, otherwise not. Now after this happens, I becomes 1, and again for that you have j0, j1, 2, 3, 4. Now however, I is now greater than 0, so it will continue. In each step it will just keep continuing. It will skip this printf statement, go to the next iteration. So there will be no further printouts here, so no printouts. Now similarly, I equals 2, 3, for all of that there will be similarly no printing. So totally you will have only 5 times hello will be printed. Is it clear?
No, sir, can you explain this again?
Okay, so what continue, first of all you need to, yeah, so what exactly continue does is once it is executed, it will skip the rest of the lines and go to the next iteration. Okay, so that particular iteration will be skipped. Okay, so keeping that in mind, let's see what will happen here. There are 2 loops here. There is a nested loop I equals 0. So we start with I equals 0, for which there will be 5 inner loop. The inner loop will run 5 times with j values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Now for each of them, this condition is not satisfied. I is 0, so I greater than 0, the condition is not satisfied, so the continue will not be executed. So in each of these 5 cases you will have hello being printed. That is clear, right? Why it is being printed this 5 times?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now what happens when after this I will get incremented to 1. Now when I is 1, again you will have j being running 5 times with values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's look at I equals 1, j equals 0. What happens then? So you run this, you check I greater than 0. So now 1 is greater than 0, which is true. So the continue statement will be executed. Now continue statement will be executed, so this printf is ignored. It will go to the next iteration. What is the next iteration? J equals 1. So I equals 1, j equals 1. Again it will check the condition of I, true. Continue statement is executed, ignores the printf, go to the next iteration. So I1, j2. Again continue is executed, ignore printf, goes to the next iteration. I equals 1, j equals 3. So continue is executed, no printing. I equals 1, j equals 4. Again the same. So basically after from I equals 1 onwards, whatever iterations you have, this I greater than 0 will always be satisfied, right? Now if that is satisfied, then the continue statement will be executed. Now continue statement is executed, then the print statement will be ignored and it will move on to the next iteration. Okay, so there will be no printing occurring on any I greater than 0. So that is why you have a total of hello being printed 5 times only. So the loops will run for, so I will run for 0, 1, 2, 3, right? So 4 times it will run, and I will run and j will run for 5 times. So 20 times the loop will run, like the nested loop will run. If you didn't have a if statement with a continue, it you would have 20 times hello being printed. But now you are using continue, saying that if the I becomes greater than 0, I'll just not print hello basically. Okay, I'll just skip to the next iteration. I will keep skipping to the next iteration as long as I is greater than 0. So I is greater than 0 for how many iterations out of that? So 15 for 15 total iterations, the I will be greater than 0. So all of them will have no output. Only the initial 5 where I was 0, the condition was not satisfied, only then the hello would be printed. Is it clear now?
Yes, Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So now we are looking at again another hello. Lots of hello today. Okay, so we have a integer k, integer variable k. We are initializing it to 0, and as you can see we have no condition here, no initialization, just the increment operation which will happen at the end of the iteration, and then we are printing hello, and we are saying that k percentage 10 equals 0. So basically modulo operation, we're doing a modulo operation and checking if this is exactly like there is no remainder, that is it's exactly dividing, then you break, that is you come outside the for loop. Okay, so here how many times will hello be printed?
So one time.
Right, so hello will be printed only one time. Why is that?
So because after the
That is
increment of
zero.
value of k, it will print hello, and then when it comes to if statement, there is a break statement, and it will come out of the loop.
Yeah, so what happens here is k equals 0. You're correct, both of you are correct. K equals 0 when you start for the first iteration, it prints hello. So it prints hello once, and then it checks this condition which is k is still 0, remember. So 0 percentage 10, and that will be actually 0, and this condition will be true. So this condition being true, break will be executed, it will just exit the loop. So hello will be printed only one time here. Okay, right, so let's see the next question. So here we have an integer variable I which is initialized to 0. Now you are having a if statement which is if I equals 0, then I equals I plus 1, and then break, and you are printing the value of I. So what will be the output of this code?
It's a
Why is that?
because we cannot use break inside it.
Exactly. So you cannot use the break statement inside a if statement. So here you will have a compilation error. So break can be used only within the looping statements, not within a if statement. Okay. Okay, we are again looking at hello.
Sir, is the break?
Yes.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes. Go ahead.
Sir, is the break can be used in while, do while?
Yes. Yes. It can be used in any kind of looping statements. For, while, do while.
Yes, for loop.
Yes. It can be used in. It can be used inside the nested for loop also. Yes. Any kind of looping statements. It can be used. So it will just
But
if.
it doesn't use in simple if statement, right?
Yeah, it is not used in if statements. It cannot be used in if statements. Yeah. Okay. So we have again two variables here, k and j. K going from 0 up till 10 with increment of 2 after each iteration, and inside that we have a nested for loop which is j being not equal to k, and j is equal to j plus 1, that is incrementing by 1. So how many times will hello be printed?
I guess it's an infinite loop, so combination it.
Why is it an infinite loop?
Like j value is 1,
Uh-huh.
and k value is 0 first, so 1 is
Okay, I get why you're trying to
still not b equals to 0, it never b equals to 0, but increasing.
uh, yeah, that is true, but it will. Yeah, let's see what the answer will be. Okay, so k equals 0, that is where we start. the first loop. Now k equals 0, j is equal to 1, right? Now you check the condition j is not equal to k. Is the condition satisfied? Yes, it is satisfied because j is not equal to k, right? That is what we want, and that condition is satisfied because k is 0 and j is 1. So you print hello. So hello will be printed here, and then you break.
I missed the break. Oh, so no, my answer is wrong. That break will cause the
Right. So you'll break out, but where will you break out to? That is also important. So when you are using break inside the inner for loop, so it will just break out of the inner for loop. It will not break out of the outer for loop also. So you are still in the outer for loop. Okay. So you are breaking out of here. So j did not get incremented. Okay. J was 1, k was 0. You came out of the inner for loop. So this for loop gets over. K gets incremented by 2. Now k becomes 2. Now you run the j part again. J equals 1. You check j is not equal to k. Still true. So again you print hello and break. So you break out of the inner loop. Now k becomes 4. J equals 1. You print again hello because j is not equal to k, and then you break out. Then k equals 6. J equals 1. You print hello. K equals 8, j equals 1, another hello. K equals 10, j equals 1, hello will be printed. Now k equals 12, then in that case you don't need j because it will check the conditional and it will exit here. Loop will exit. The outer loop itself will exit. So how many times did hello get printed? It was 6 times, right?
Six times.
So 6 times is your answer here. Right? So is that clear?
Sir, why J is not incremented? J is constant till down.
Yeah, because for every k, when you start the loop, for every k loop, that is the outer loop, you initialize j to 1, right? And you initialize j to 1, you check this conditional j not equal to k, which if true, it will print hello and then it will break. Now, because it is breaking, then it is not allowing j to be incremented. So you just break out of this inner loop, and after this, so there is no statements here. You just go and run the next k iteration. Okay, so k, that is why the j value is not getting incremented.
Sir, if there is no break statement, then J is incremented.
Yes, yes. If there is no break statement, j will be incremented. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Sorry. If break is not used here. Okay, so if break is not used in the first case, k equals 0, j equals 1, j will keep getting incremented. It will run forever. J will keep getting incremented because k, k will stay at 0. Yeah, it will be an infinite loop if there is no break. Why it will be an infinite loop? If you remove the break, then you start with, okay, k is equal to 0, right? Now I start with j equals 1. I check j not equal to k. This is true. So you print hello. Now you go increment the value of j to 2 because there is no break now. So you check again. This is still true. And this will continue to be true no matter what the j value is. Right? It will keep incrementing the j value and it will keep be true because it will never decrease. Like k is 0. So j cannot be 0 because it gets positively incremented by 1 after every iteration. So it will be an infinite loop. Okay, does that make sense to you? Yes. Okay. So we'll proceed to the next one. So we have again a for loop with iterator I initialized to 0, and inside that we are saying that if I equals 10, then I'll break out of the for loop, and you're printing %d plus plus I, so prefix operation. First the increment will occur and then the printing will happen. So what should be the output for this? So for the first for the first iteration, what is printed?
Option C.
Yes, option C is the correct answer, because you can see that there is no syntax error here. So syntax error is definitely not the answer. And your I is initially 0, and this is not satisfied. 0 is equal to 10 is false, so break statement is not executed. So when you're printing it, you're printing plus plus I. That means I has been incremented to 1, and then you printed it. So there is only one option which matches. Like you can see already that option C will be the answer. And when it reaches the ninth loop, it will still I will be 9, and it will still not execute the break. It will increment I will become 10. When it comes to the next loop, I equals 10, it will just break out of this for statement. So it will have only printing till 10. So 1 to 10 will be the output here.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can you please explain for double semicolons inside the brackets, what does it mean, sir?
This actually means nothing. So basically you are not giving any initialization, any condition, or any increment. It's just a empty for loop. Like if I don't write all this inside this 3 statements, like this entire thing, if I don't write it, then this will be an infinite loop. It will run forever, because there is no condition checking, there is no increment, nothing is happening. So it will just run forever. It will be an infinite loop. So this is basically the 3 parts of a for loop, which is the initialization, the condition, and the increment or decrement part.
That I know, sir. My doubt is, what is the purpose of that loop for double semicolons inside the brackets in this program?
Oh, the double semicolon. You have to write semicolons, right? Because whenever you write this init, semicolon, condition, semicolon, increment. So these 2 semicolons still have to be there, even if you are not writing any initialization, condition, and increment. The semicolons will still have to be written. So that is why you are just
So like syntax, right?
yeah, that is the syntax. So that is why this is still there. Yeah. Okay. Right. So let's look at the next question then. You have a being 0, the integer variable a being 0, and 2 more integer variables I and b. So you're writing a for loop with I being 0 less than equals 2, I is incremented by 0.5, and within the loop you have a being incremented by 1, and continue. So what will be the output here?
So no output as it is infinite.
No output.
Right. So this is an infinite loop. And why is it an infinite loop?
So whenever I becomes 0.5, it is an integer. We have declared it as an integer, so it will always take 0, not 0.
Exactly. So this increment, so I is an integer, and you're trying to increment it by a floating point value. So it will just increment it by 0, not 0.5. So you're basically, for every statement you're saying I equals 0, I equals 0, it keeps continuing. So it's an infinite loop. So the value of a will keep on increasing, but nothing will be printed because this loop will run infinitely. So this is an infinite loop here. Okay, so that is why you will get no output. Is that clear?
Sir, will it not be a runtime error?
No, it will not be a runtime. No, not be a runtime error. It will keep on running the loop again and again forever until you stop it. So it's not a runtime error because like it's not, the syntax and everything is fine, so there is no compile time error, and you are not accessing anything that you are not supposed to access, so it's not a runtime error. Okay. Whatever you have written, all of them are running as they should, but this is an infinite loop. Sometimes well yeah, I mean, it's an infinite loop. It's not technically, it's, there is nothing wrong with the code, just that the loop is supposed to run infinitely until a user stops it. So there is no technical problem with it, so there is neither a compilation or a runtime error here.
Sir,
Yes.
what if we change the data type of I as float?
Yes, if it is a float variable, then it will be incremented by 0.5 until it reaches a value of 2. So basically, you will have a being,
Answer would be 5.
yes, I think so. So I equals 0. For this, a will become 1. Then I 0.5, 1.0, 1.5, 2.0. So this is what it will be. So a will be 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. So you will have a value of 5. A will have 5. Yeah, if I is a float. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's go to the next one. Right. So this question I will come back to it at the end because it's a bit tricky. It uh, it can have a bit complicated things there. So I'll just cover this one first and I'll come back to this question at the end. Okay, so what do we have here? We have, the question asks what will be the output. We have x equals 1. X is an integer variable. We have a do while loop, and what happens in the loop, we increment the value of x and we do a continue. Okay, and print, break, and conditional. Okay, right. So can anyone answer this?
I think the answer is C, sir.
Okay, why do you think that?
Not C, but D, sir.
Option D. Okay.
Yes, sir, option D.
Yes, yes. The answer will be option D. Why? Because you are using the continue, right? It will just skip over the rest of the statements. So you have a do while loop. You start, x value gets incremented by 1. So in the first loop, what happens? In the first loop, x becomes, so x is equal to 1 before this. X will become 1 plus 1, that is 2. Now your continue, the continue is executed. It will just go, it will check the conditional, x less than equals 2, which is true. Now it will go to the second loop. In the second loop, it will check x is, like, it will increment the value, x becomes 3. Now it again continues, so the rest of the statements are skipped. Now x less than equal to 2, this is false, the loop will stop, the loop will exit. And then the next is the print statement, which is after loop, x equals percentage d x, and x is, the value is 3. So option D will be the output here. Okay. Right. So let's now look at the next. These are miscellaneous questions. One is related to the switch statement, and the other just asks you to put the correct statement in the place to get a certain output. Okay, so what happens with this switch statement? So we are printing something here, and right. So what is the output here?
Option A, sir.
Why do you think so?
Because sir, option IIT is not anywhere in that case.
Yeah, but you are
So
using
is it
printf IIT. So what does that give to the switch?
option D?
Default option.
Sorry, someone else was also saying something.
Option B, sir. I think.
So I'll tell you
Sir, I think it,
the answer is
I think
option D. Okay. Uh, yeah, it's not because I am from IIT Madras. So there is a reason for that. So basically, this printf IIT. These are three characters, right? So when you write the switch statement, so what basically goes to the switch statement here? You usually write some switch of x, right? Where x is some number, some integer, right? So basically what this printf sends to this switch is how many characters it is printing. So it is printing 3 characters here. So that is what it will send to the switch, and that matches to case 3, which is Madras. So now that is getting printed. So IIT anyway it will be printed, but at the same time it will send the value 3 to the switch, and the switch will match it with case 3, print Madras. So IIT Madras will be printed. Now if you
but sir,
had,
why
yeah,
IIT is also printed?
yes, because it's a print statement. So print statement, the first thing it will do is it will print, but at the same time it will give a output which is the number of characters it is printing, which is usually we ignore the output. Okay, we don't care about the number of characters that it is printing, but here the question particularly asks because you have put it inside the switch statement. So apart from printing definitely you have used printf, it will print, that is for sure. But apart from that, what it does is this number of characters that it will return, that goes to the switch statement now, and that you are matching it with Madras, so case 3. So if say you had written IT, that is 2 characters, right? If you had written 2 characters, so it would have matched with case 2, that is Kharagpur. So you have IIT Kharagpur, sorry, IT Kharagpur would be printed. Okay. Now similarly, yes.
Sir, instead of IIT, there will be a triple IT, then what?
Yeah, if it had been triple IT, then you have 4 characters.
Guwahati will be.
Yeah, yeah. So in
Default
that
option.
case, tri triple IT space Guwahati, that will be printed. Here it will be IIT. Yeah. So yes. So print statement always returns this number of characters it is printing, but we usually ignore that. But this question particularly uses that and passes it on to the switch case statement. All right.
Sir, whether the letters are uppercase letters or lowercase letters, whatever it might be,
Yeah, even blank
it
space.
acts
If,
as
if
a four character.
yes, yes, everything will be counted. Even blank spaces will be counted as characters. So yeah, if you simply write IIT space, that will be 4 characters. Okay, so yeah. Okay. So we can look at this question which asks us what should be in the place of this star, so that except I equals 8, the rest of the values of I will be printed. So this is pretty straightforward.
Exit, sir.
Continues.
Sorry, what?
So continue.
Right. So you have continue, because what continue does, it skips a certain iteration and takes you to the next iteration. So that is exactly what the question is asking. We want that apart from I equals 8, the rest of the value of I should be printed. Now here for I equals 8 we want to skip I equals 8, so we put this continue here with I equals 8, so it just skips that, and the rest, so it, if we put continue here, the rest of the statement, that is the print statement, will be skipped. So you just skip it and you go to the next one, which is I equals 9 now. So everything else will be printed apart from I equals 8. So continue. Someone said exit before, so exit, what it will do, it will exit the entire code, not just the for loop or anything. Like it will exit you out of the entire like code execution. It will do a code exit. Okay, so
Okay, sir.
yeah, you are not going to use exit here. Okay, yeah, now we come back to this question. So it is pretty similar to one of the previous questions you saw, apart from the fact that here there was a break, now there is a continue. So let's see what difference does that make. So you have I, which is initialized to 0, and you have a for loop, which is an empty for loop, and you are setting the condition that if I equals 10, then continue, and you are printing %d space and plus plus I, that is prefix. So what should be the output here?
Maybe option B, sir. 1, 2, 3 to infinity.
Yes, option B.
Yeah, this is a common yeah, now that is where the tricky part comes in. So this continue at 10, it will continue forever, right? No, but why? Look, wait. 10, like it's written infinity, that means what exactly will be printed till infinity? Like you are saying that numbers will be
11
printed?
will not be printed.
So okay, let me solve this for you first. So first of all, I'll just tell you the answer. The answer is no output, but there is like a bit of if I write printf %d / n plus plus I, okay, so instead of the space that I'm giving, like the space I'm giving /n, okay, in this case the output will be 1 2 3 all the way till 10, and then there will be no output but the code will be running. Okay, in this case there will be no output. So basically what happens here, so in the first loop you have I equals 0, you are supposed to print I. So first loop is before this I equals 0. Now you are incrementing I to 1, you are printing I, so 1, it should start with 1. Then second loop I will be incremented to 2, you print 2, and so on. Once you reach the 10th loop, right, so I equals 10, like I has already become, so in the 9th loop the I value would have become 10, and then it would have printed 10. So what happens in the 10th loop, I equals 10, so this is satisfied now. Okay, so I equals 10, this is true. If it is true, then it will continue. Why it will continue? Then there will be no increment. If it continues it, the printf statement is skipped, and if the printf statement is skipped, there will be no more increment of I. That means it will go back in the 11th loop, I value is still 10, and it will still satisfy this condition, it will still be true, it will again continue. So this will continue forever now, because you cannot increment the value of I anymore. It is after the print statement is after the continue, right? So there will be no more increment happening. So I will forever be at 10 and the loop will continue infinitely. So that is what should happen. So you should get a value of 1 to 10 followed by the code will be running but no output after that. But what happens here? So when you pass any variable, like pass any output to this printf, what exactly happens? So when you write printf some characters, okay, this say some characters here, now this is passed to something called a buffer. Okay, it's, and from buffer it will go to the std out stream, and when it goes to the std out stream, only then it will appear on your screen. So when you write this printf statement, whatever characters you are printing will go to a buffer, and this buffer, from this buffer it will go to the std out stream, and when it goes to the std out stream, only then it will appear on your computer screen. Okay, now when does this go from the buffer to the std out stream? So it goes when either the buffer is full, or you have special characters like /n/t or so, things like that. So those are the two conditions under which the buffer will transfer whatever it has accumulated with the printing to the std out stream. It will push it to the std out stream. Either you are filling up the buffer, or you are encountering special characters like /n/t and so on. So here, however, we are giving only space, which is not a special character. So it will keep on putting things into the buffer. Okay, and all this 1 to 10, all of this will go into the buffer, but the buffer is neither full nor is there any special character that is like being encountered. So it will stay in the buffer. It will never be pushed to the std out stream. Okay, now because it is not pushed to the std out stream, so you'll not have any output basically, and the code also does not stop, right? If the code execution had stopped, then it would, whatever buffer would be there, it would have been pushed to the std out stream at the when the code execution stops. It would have pushed whatever was in the buffer to the std out stream, and everything would have displayed on your computer screen. But that also does not happen, because the code also runs forever. After this printing till 10, after supposedly printing till 10, the code runs like in an infinite loop. So, and it does not even print anything after that. So the buffer is also not full, so it is not able to push whatever it has, the buffer has, to the std out stream. So that is why you will get no output. If I had a /n here, so every time I was printing something, the buffer would push it to the std out stream, so it will print. So in that case, this 1 to 10 will appear on your screen, and then after that it will, like, the code will run and give nothing. Like, it will run forever, the code, until you stop it. Okay, so this is what, like, the special characters, another use of special characters. Is this, like, were you able to get overall what I was trying to say?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is why this particular program with a space after %d will give no output. But if you have a %d/n, you will get an output from 1 to 10, and then the code will keep on running and not give any output. So in this case, the code will keep on running. It will give no output. Okay. All right.
Sir,
Yes.
And
This
sir, if we place /t,
still it will be the same. So any special characters will suffice. Like, instead of /n, if we put /t, then also it is fine. It will still print 1 space 1 tab space 2 tab space 3 tab space 4 and so on, like up till 10, and then it will, the program will run, but there will be no output.
okay, sir.
Yeah. So this is an empty for loop basically. You are not specifying anything. So so here I have written, right, in a for we usually write the initialization, the condition, and the increment or decrement. So but what we are doing here is we are initializing beforehand. Say I equals 0, we are initializing beforehand. We are giving the condition in some other way inside the for loop itself, and the increment also we are doing it somewhere inside the for loop. So we don't need to write any of this. We are just writing 2 semicolons, because the semicolons are part of the syntax. You have to write the semicolon, but all this initialization, condition, and increment or decrement, we are doing it separately and not in the for statement. So that is why it's a empty for loop basically. if I write like for semicolon semicolon and this, so this is going to be a infinite loop. This is going to run infinitely. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so the final thing is a coding question. So I'll just explain to you the algorithm. So you have, so the code asks you to enter a 3-digit integer and check if it's a Armstrong number. So Armstrong number basically means the sum of the digits raised to the sum of the digits raised to the power of the total number of digits is equal to the number. So you're going to sum up, you're going to have each digit raised to the power of the total number of digits and sum all of them up and equate it to the number. You can make a quick Google search and look at what what are the Armstrong numbers, because I don't remember right now. I can't think of an example, but you can make a quick search and find out any Armstrong number. So basically, if there is a number, okay, yeah, give me a number, give me an Armstrong number.
121.
Okay, 121. So 1 cube plus 2 cube plus 1 cube. So it is not 121, right? Sorry, 123.
123, sir. 123 is the Armstrong number.
Yes, I.
So, okay, yeah.
1 cube plus 2 cube
Huh.
plus 3 cube equal to.
So in Google it's showing like Armstrong number is one, in which the sum of like each digit is raised to the power of cube and then sum.
Yes, I mean there are different interpretations of Armstrong number, but like some interpretations say that it's a number raised to the, like every digit you raise it to the power of the total number of digits and then sum it up. If it is equal to the number, then it's an Armstrong number. In some cases, it says only cube. So it will be, if such a question is asked in the exam, then they will actually write like what exactly you need to do. Like here it is written, like there will be that is sum of digits raised to the power of total number of digits is equal to the number. Like they will give that, they will give examples also. So it,
Sir,
you don't,
123 is not the Armstrong.
yeah, 123 is not.
153.
371. 371.
Okay, 3.
153.
Yeah, you can try
It's the
yourself. You can try yourself and check.
27 plus.
So this is 27, and how much is this? Uh,
27 plus 343 plus 1.
1, yeah. Yeah. So 37.
Is 370.
So 371 is an Armstrong number. Okay. So here, what do we need to do for this particular definition that I have specified? We need to know the total number of digits, and then we need to go to each of the digits and raise it to the power of the total number of digits, right? Okay, so we will need to do while twice. So let's say that our scanf, I'm not going to write the entire code, I'm going to just write part of it. So n is the number which I'm taking from the user. Then I save m equals n because I am going to use the number later on. Now I'm going to operate on this m while m greater than 0. Like if you remember the flowcharts we discussed in like I think the first or the second tutorial session, we did this total number of digits and those kind of things. So first I'm going to do a %10 so that I get the remainder. Like I don't really need to do anything because I'm just calculating the total number of digits here. So I'll say digits plus plus, right? Then m equals m minus x by 10. So there it goes. So before this I'll say digits equals 0. So this loop will calculate the total number of digits of the number for me. Now after this is done, the next I'll write next while loop again. I'll write m equals n again while m is greater than 0. Now I need to calculate the sum, so I write int sum equals 0. I again use, I extract the number, like the digits, I extract the digits. I write sum equals sum plus, I'm using this function from math.h, so you need to include the header file math.h. okay, this POW function, this is power, so what x raised to the power of digits. Okay, so basically x raised to the power of digits, that is what I am adding to this sum. Now after I do that, I do m equals m minus x by 10. So after this loop is over, the sum basically has this is what it gives me. So I check if sum equals n, then it is an Armstrong number, right? Else not Armstrong. So this is basically the algorithm. We just have to do the while loop twice for calculating, once for calculating the total number of digits, and the second time for calculating the sum of the digits raised to the power of the total number of digits. Okay, so is there a doubt in the algorithm here?
Sir, it is already given that it is a 3-digit number. Why we have to
Yes, I mean
another?
I have written it for any number of digits. If it is given that it's a 3-digit, then you can directly just do the second part and put, instead of digits you put 3, right? So it's fine. I have just written the code for like any number of digits. Rather than a 3-digit, I have written it for any number of digits. If you have the restriction that it's a 3-digit integer, then you can just directly put 3 here instead of doing this first part to calculate the digits, like the total number of digits. You just directly do the second part and put POW x comma 3, right?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so this is the code actually that I have done. So here, as you can see, I have not put I have not calculated digits, rather I have put directly x comma 3, like you were saying. Right. So this is pretty much that I had for this session. You can go through this. I'll share this PPT and the recording, so you can go through them. So this is all I had for this particular session. Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, so if there are no doubts, then I'll be closing the session here, and we'll meet next week on Tuesday 6 to 8 p.m. So thank you for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.